Okay, Earnestness Bonanza, Patriotic Edition, ironically, starts now. What's up, everyone in the United States of America? How are we doing?
God bless this nation, and God bless podcasters, comedians, and writer-performers everywhere. And not just that, God bless their fans, listeners, followers on social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, people who share a reposted tweet that appeared on a meme page on Instagram.
God bless the people that hit share.
God
You
bless,
all.
yes.
You are putting in the work. You are the reason this nation exists. Without sharers, we wouldn't have stars. And without stars, we don't have soft power. And without soft power, we crumble.
Without soft power, where are you going to find the hard power? How are you going to build hard power with no meme pages to amplify your message? I'd like to know. I'd honestly like to know.
I know
if
the
anyone
answer
has
to
any
that.
ideas, please get in touch. It's StraightioLab@gmail.com.
People that hit share are in direct opposition to guns and bombs and other such weaponry.
By the way, if you don't hit share, that's the bystander effect.
You are not taking responsibility for your role as a citizen and creating star power. And every time you don't share, a gun is created because we need more
Literally.
hard power to make up for the fact that you didn't hit share.
Guess what? Oh, you're laughing at something and then just you're keeping scrolling? What is that? What are you afraid of?
Yeah. Are you afraid of being vulnerability?
You just had a private...
Oh, God.
You're afraid of being vulnerability? Oh, you just had a private moment to yourself? What does that do for me? Make it public, sweetheart.
I have to say, this actually taps into something very real, unfortunately.
What is it?
Which is when someone is like, texts me like, that was so funny. I'm like, tell the people. How about, I know for a fact you have over 20 more thousand followers than I do. How about you tell the people? You're texting me and I'm like, there's an internal shame about you that you're putting onto me and I'm not ready for that emotional labor. How about you take the thing that I'm sure I posted and you share it and you say, I found this very funny. Don't put it on me. At Sam Taggart. And then I'll reshare it. And then we'll have a sort of harmony, a beautiful harmony in this tech ecosystem we all exist within.
Do you know, I really feel like I would say even the past year, I'm like, there's no going back from the logics of sharing and social media. Like there's a way in which I think, to the best of my abilities, I resisted at least the most insidious parts of it. And something about the last year, I'm like, we're too far gone.
Well, I think we both actually talk about Earnestness Bonanza. I think we both were like trying to sort of be above it in like a positive way, because we were like, well, we don't think we don't enjoy this. We don't enjoy being like burdened by this like daily push for yourself.
We're also not naturally good at it.
And I haven't found it fun in years.
No.
But then something changed where we were just like, oh, we're actively being punished. We're actively punishing ourselves. And we are actively like, by not doing that side of things, we are like failing.
And it's also a work in progress. We have certainly not... Let me tell you something. We don't have a plan.
No.
We don't have we haven't instrumentalized how we do things.
No.
We forget. We literally still to this day do not promote the Patreon at the end of every episode. Something we have said we're going to start doing for 3 years.
Okay. I mean, our ability to sort of care about the work. Let's just say it's about caring about the art that we're creating. And, you know, both of us are sort of like, we are, quite frankly, the talent. And and I don't want to, you know, also have to care about, you know, the posting schedule.
We're not the CMO. You know what I mean?
I'm not the CMO. I'm not the CFO. I'm not the CEO.
No, we're CCO, Chief Creative Officer. And that's all we do.
We're literally little robots where you bring us to a place and say, go, and we go. That's what we do.
And by the way, the other thing with all this stuff is like, I really like feeling, I felt this way so much when we were with Macy and with Amy recently. I love feeling like we are in this dreamscape where we're just like, I'm sorry to use this word earnestly because it is actually one of the most toxic words one can use, but we are, trigger alert, playing. We are at play. We're in a state of play. We are in a state of play.
We have a profound sense of play.
If it was up to me, it would not be recorded. If it was up to me, all our listeners would just be in an audience, and we would be at the, let's say, Kennedy Center or the Lincoln Center, any center in a major metropolitan area, and we could do, if we could do every single episode live for an audience of thousands, that would be, and by the way, I'm catching myself not giving myself enough credit, millions. Not thousands. If we could do each episode in front of an audience of millions and then have it disappear forever, I think for both of us, that would be ideal. And what happens is, obviously, because of the way media works, you have to record it, you have to disseminate it, you have to make it so that some rando from some random city will find it and then leave a review that's like, what the hell are these gay guys up to? But the point is, then once you start being like, by the way, follow us, by the way, rate us, by the way, listen to us on Patreon, then it's almost like you are implying like, oh, this is it. This is a complete work.
Yeah.
And it's not.
It's not. I find the reels specifically very interesting because I like that they exist. I like watching other people's. I like watching ours. But I am like, oh, these are incomplete thoughts that we're making up in the moment. And to sort of put them out as a complete thought, it feels complex.
I'll say this as someone who supports every single union and non-union worker who creates our reels. I think they are expertly done. I think they are so well lit. I think they are well edited, and I think they're well captioned. Having said that, it is a form that is morally corrupt. And no one should be creating them in an ideal world. Even the ones that I think are fun. I mean, we choose them, by the way. We choose these clips and we're like, these are the good ones to share. Then I'll watch it and I'm like, this is humiliating. There is no world in which this should be a standalone work of anything.
But that's the whole point, is that the whole point of us getting more into sort of diving all the way off the cliff into social media is that we're giving up on the idea of control and the idea of feeling shame around being humiliated.
Totally.
Of course, any time you post, it's humiliating. It could be a picture of you and your lovely family. Why are you posting that? You're a child. Stop it. But
if anything, that's more humiliating than posting an Instagram reel of a podcast.
Exactly.
Because at least we can hide behind the fact that we are doing marketing. If you're posting a photo of your family, that it's like, stop commodifying that and go feed them. They haven't eaten in days.
Because you keep
and
posting.
You're here and you're like, please share, please like and subscribe. Your kids are dying.
They don't know the real you because you're too worried about your posting practices. You're too worried about creating the correct schedule of beach pick versus winter pick versus TBT versus 1 year old. It's disgusting. You need to tell your child.
You're creating a digital record of your children that, guess who is going to take advantage of that? Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey, Elon Musk. You are literally setting them up for failure because of your thirst for likes.
Good luck getting them into college.
Yeah, it's looking like, honey, safety school. They'll be lucky if they graduate elementary school. I'll tell you that.
But yeah, I actually do think there's a big element of like throwing shame out the window because you just kind of have to, because it is embarrassing to sort of like. It's also like only. I actually wonder. Sound off in the comments, JK. If potentially, do you think we're the last generation to feel shame around posting ourselves on video?
That is a really good question. I think that we are the last generation maybe to associate it with shame. I do think at some point the generation below us is going to react against all of this and like quit en masse in some way. I don't know. Maybe the next thing will then be something even worse. I'm not saying it's going to be like, utopian or anything, but I do think at some point, enough is enough. And at some point, everyone is going to leave TikTok. Everyone will seek something more real. But I don't think it will be because of shame. I think what is specific to our generation is the connection between shame and self-documentation.
Wow.
Like I think that the next generation will leave because of, maybe because of political reasons, maybe because of mental health reasons, maybe because they find something more, sort of more interesting to do, or even more stupid to do. Who knows? Maybe they're so stupid that they need something even dumber than TikTok. I don't know. But I think the reason will not be shame. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think the sort of wrestling with shame about documenting yourself is a uniquely sorry to do generational talk, but a uniquely millennial thing, because we're the ones that have seen it before a world and have seen it after a world.
Yeah. Hey, I love it. I think we
Same.
nailed it. Should we start?
Well, yeah. Welcome to our July 4th Earnestness Bonanza.
Hope you're having a beautiful summer. In our Earnestness Bonanzas, for those that don't know, we drop the bit and are as earnest as we possibly can be as we answer your questions about us and also about life in general.
That's right.
And so, for some of you, if you came here sort of expecting absurd bits, honey, the door's right there. But for those of you that are like, what makes these two gay guys tick? Well, then you're about to find out.
It's literally just off-the-cuff answers. We have not looked at... Actually, that's not true. I did skim these questions, but I have not given a single thought to how I'm going to answer them. I do want to say... Well, I want to say two things. One is, as always, A, we're not experts. B, we barely have any connection to our opinions at any given time. So please do not blame us if we say something wrong, if we say something overly confident, if we say something that sort of sounds lame. You have to understand that we agree with you.
Yeah.
And two, I want to say, these are like really good questions, because I did sort of just like go through them very quickly. And they're very thoughtful, I feel.
Wow. Well, I'm excited. I haven't really gone through them that much.
And then should we usually start with a little introduction of just where we are, how grateful we are to be here, how grateful we are for all of you. I do want to say, during this specific Earnestness Bonanza, since the last one, both you and I have, for various reasons, left our other jobs, and then a writer's strike has started. So especially during the last few months and during this summer, more than ever, I feel incredibly grateful for doing this podcast with you and for everyone who listens to it. I'm truly, there were times when we were both super busy. We both had, jobs and were traveling and whatever. And I didn't stop to smell the roses podcast wise. And I feel like now all I'm doing is smelling the roses, baby.
No, I also feel extremely grateful. It actually feels kind of like throwback era to like
Totally.
pandemic, when we were like in a true just like crumbling era. And this was like the only regular thing that we had to point to.
Totally. No, that's actually a really good point. The writer's strike era is really hearkening back to early pandemic.
Yeah.
Because it's really #it's all she has.
Yeah, and I am so grateful to have something regular and to be able to express ourselves and find our sense of play. Call back.
Totally.
And George, as always, I feel like our dynamic just gets better and better. It's smoother and smoother, and it keeps it light, keeps it silly, and keeps it fresh. We do not rest on past bits, I find, and we always push to find something new. I love
to
that.
a fault.
Oh, well, to some, but honey, I've listened to podcasts before that were heavily comedic and then became significantly less so.
Yeah. No, we're always looking for the next thing, you and I.
Yeah.
There's no one I'd rather do any of this with. It is an honor and a privilege. And, to many more years, to many more Earnestness Bonanzas, to many more emails, to many more Instagram reels.
Oh, to many more Instagram reels.
To many more live shows. By the way, come see us on tour.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Oh, my
Okay,
God.
Come to our shows. Before we begin, actually, that's a huge thing.
That's a huge thing.
We are going on tour, as many of you know, and we would like for you to come.
Montreal, Boston, Philly, DC,
DC,
Chicago, Minneapolis, Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles.
Wow.
If you are in a 1 hour, heck, 2 hour drive of any of these spaces, I'm going to need your ass in the damn seat.
I really think that the least you guys can do is fucking support us the one time we decide to go on tour. We do this for fucking free every week.
I love
and all
this.
we ask is that for fucking once, 3.5 years in, you maybe give back a little bit.
Seriously, guys, George is being kind of harsh, but he's right, and you know it. We do so much for fucking free. And
let me tell you something. You owe us. You owe us.
Look, George is being harsh, but he's fucking right. If you could open your ears and your hearts to it.
Oh, you send us DMs like, oh, thank you so much for doing this podcast. I love listening to it on my way to work. Well, prove it, bitch.
And buy a fucking ticket to Minneapolis or even Philadelphia, sweetheart.
Yeah, and honestly, even get this, Seattle.
Because guess what? We know if you're going to get a ticket because we get daily updates about the ticket sales.
Yeah.
Which, doesn't feel good to daily see this little number tick. I say, ouch.
And you know what? For some of these dates, tick is generous.
And that being said, Chicago, I love you with all of my heart. You're the only city that understands us.
That being said, Chicago, I am moving there tomorrow. And before, when I yelled, that was targeting the entire nation except for Chicago. That was targeting all of Canada and the United States except for Chicago.
Chicago, you are so beautiful. Don't let anyone ever tell you you're not. You are the perfect city, and every other city should burn.
Everyone who lives in Chicago is a supermodel, a 90s supermodel on par with Naomi Campbell, and an intellect on par with Noam Chomsky. They are Noam Campbell.
Oh my God, that was good. That was really good. Straight
Thank
shooter.
you.
Okay, I think we should start.
Let's start. Okay. And you know what? I'm sort of like, I'm loose. I'm feeling fun. I'm like, I think we can like burn through these.
Great. I love that.
You know what I mean?
Burn through them just like we're going to burn all the cities that aren't Chicago.
This is from, wow. Okay. I'm just going to say this is from someone who is in literal medical school.
Oh my God. It's so important that you pointed that out because I was like, oh my God, an undergrad, because they have a college email. And then
no.
Wow.
In medical, by the way, actually, you know what, medical school graduating next year. So I just want to say good luck. I know the last year can be hard, and there's that whole part where you're like, there's like a lottery, and then they're like, and then everyone opens the envelopes and you're like, my residency is in Minneapolis or whatever. I hope you get exactly what you want, and I hope you get whatever what is it called when you're a doctor, like your focus?
I don't know.
Your specialty. I hope you get whatever specialty you are looking for.
I hope you find your medical superpower, mama.
So Emily asks, does your theme song sound like an iPhone alarm tone to you guys? Unfortunately, to me, it absolutely does. No, it doesn't, Emily.
No, Emily, it doesn't. It sounds like a beautiful symphony of music.
Yeah, best of luck with your patience. Next question.
Okay, I can read this one. This is from Marcel. I've been really struggling with comparing myself to others, other performers, actors, gays in general, etc. I know everybody deals with this to some extent and it'll ebb and flow, but I'm curious, how has your relationship with comparison changed over time as you've moved through your career? Any advice for how to deal? Thanks in advance. Love the pod. Wow. I have to say, for me, ooh, baby, does it ebb and flow. Sometimes I'm feeling on top of the world. I'm feeling like I'm America's sweetheart. And then the next moment, I'm looking over at someone else and saying, okay. Oh, well, I guess I'll never be that. I guess everyone hates me because they love that person.
Totally.
And I find it's more of a symptom of mental health than anything else. It's usually not based in much reality and more about how you feel about yourself. George, how do you feel about it?
I mean, it's the same with body image. It's like literally if you feel bad about your body, that is not because of any objective truth. Yeah. Because guess what? There are people that have the same exact body and one of them feels good about it and one of them feels bad about it. Like literally.
Totally.
The one thing I will say that is helpful to me and has made it such that I believe as I get older, I get less sort of into, I compare myself less to others, is The longer you are around, the more you realize just how hot and cold things are. Like, literally, if I think about the people that I was, let's say, jealous of as recently as like 2018, it is so random how many of them, then became huge or whatever, and how many of them just like had a small peak and are now, and I'm now no longer jealous of anything they're doing. It is like, especially if we're talking about anything creative or anything in the arts, you think you understand what people like, what is being critically acclaimed, what is getting funding or whatever, and it all changes within 2 years.
Yeah.
It is crazy. I mean, one very obvious way I have noticed this is just like the types of things that were popular during just like the 4 years of the Trump era. So many of them either now seem dated or are even truly just like a punchline.
Yeah.
And on the other end of the spectrum, how many things that, let's say, were created during the Trump era and that were not appealing to those sort of like, liberal sensibilities that were completely overlooked and now are having, and now those people are hopefully having a chance to shine after that mass psychosis.
Yeah. It's also, and the other big thing is you got to practice gratitude, which actually is lame and embarrassing, but is true.
You got to practice gratitude. And you also, I mean, not to say the obvious, you have to not be on Instagram.
Yeah.
The thing with mindfulness is, the thing with practicing gratitude and mindfulness and putting everything into perspective is like, you get to the point where you're like, ultimately, there is no ranking. Like everyone is on their own journey, and there is no sense in comparing myself to everyone else. But then, of course, there is a dark corollary to that, which is, then how do I win?
Yeah. It's a long, especially in like entertainment, it is a long journey. And it's like, I've almost, and this is maybe finding a way to be happy with whatever position I'm in, but I'm like, the people that got literally famous at 25, it's like, well, then they were famous at 25.
Oh, 100%.
Like they had to like, everyone knew them and they couldn't be normal for like from then on. And so I'm like, well, at least I have had like normal life experience, and that's kind of exciting in its own way. And I feel like I've preserved some humanity, which, it's a weird way of looking at it, but you got to look at what you got. She spilled. Next.
Next question. All right. This is, okay, this is from River. It is from River. However, it is signed all of your lesbian fan base. So I'm not sure if River was elected to be the head of this position, or if it was more of a self-appointed situation, but nevertheless, this is what River writes. Happy Pride, ... Love that. I love an ellipsis.
Mm-hmm. It implies a lot of emotion, but nothing specific.
100%. Okay. First question. Can you please speak earnestly and freely about your theme song that you recorded when you switched over to Big Money Players? The community is watching and needs to know what happened. Okay. Basically, we had a theme song, I guess about a year ago at this point. We like redid our theme song, and then there was public outcry of the kind I have certainly not seen since the famous Al Gore, George W. Bush recount of 2000.
And the song was by a friend named Brooks Allison, and he's a very talented music guy. I saw him today even, but and we got like, I would say like a few complaints, but for some reason it was like the relaunch, and we were both like, I don't know, I guess let's just pull it. And
well, I want to make one tiny clarification, which is that the song was really good. I honestly think what we couldn't crack is our vocals, so to speak. So we had it was basically like this jingle, and then under it we would sort of say like, "Welcome to StraightioLab, a podcast about gay culture or about straight culture," and then we would have like a little, you had a line and I had a line, and then we did like podcast starts now or whatever. And I don't think anyone had any complaints about the actual music, and I actually think the music was great. I was really happy with it. I was like excited for a rebrand, but there's something about we just couldn't quite crack it. And I really do think it's because both of us are way better in the moment than with this sort of pre-recorded stuff.
Yeah, and I want to say thank you for catching me on that. I wasn't trying to say that it was Brooks did something wrong. He did exactly what we asked, and it was very good.
Yes.
And our vocals, we like kind of wrote that like what we were gonna say last minute. And I even like I feel like I would even say I was really pushing for like I really wanted like a explanation of what the podcast is because so that we could be like silly right up top because
exactly.
But then it was like it doesn't our vocals were hastily written and like not correct.
And I want to say, to be perfectly candid, our inspiration for what we were trying to do was Poog, because in Poog, which is Kate Berlant and Jacqueline Novak's podcast, they start with this, there's like a little jingle, and then they're like, welcome to Poog, an ongoing conversation between two obsessive friends, two untamable intellects, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, this is our hobby, this is our hell. This is our naked desire for pre-product. And it's so perfectly done where you're like, I understand what this is about. I understand what the point of view is. I understand what these women's sensibilities are. And unfortunately, we're too complex for that.
So true.
But that is sort of what we were going for. And you know what? It's fine. Not everything's going to work out.
Yeah, whatever. I like that we were both like, it was like how, I don't know if you saw, but like people pointed out that Roman in Succession had a wife and a kid at the beginning of Succession, and then they just sort of dropped it and moved on.
Yeah.
I actually love when stuff can do that.
I really think admitting to failure is one of the most important things in life. And I do it constantly. Sam, I would love for you to read the next one.
Does Sam have any lesbian friends? We know that George has lesbian friends, first and foremost the couple from the lesbian wedding in Mexico, but we have noticed that Sam has never mentioned or shouted out any of his lesbian friends. No pressure, of course, and it's okay, all caps, if he doesn't. First of all, I want to point out that, yeah, of course I have lesbian friends. And I also want to point out, and maybe take this out if George doesn't approve, I remember George saying that the lesbians he went to the wedding for, he wasn't even that close with and was surprised that he got invited.
Wow. Wow.
I remember for sure him saying that. And so I don't think it counts as a shout out, sweetheart mama.
I don't know why I am being attacked when I'm not the one that asked this question. I'm out there supporting lesbian love. I'm quite literally an investor in the L word : Generation Q. Every day I wake up and I support queer women to the best of my abilities.
That's interesting because I remember you erasing the fact that they were queer from the wedding narrative until you couldn't hide it
because
anymore.
To me it's normal. Because to me it's normal that they're queer.
No,
yeah, you have lesbian friends. Name one.
Z-Way vibes.
No, Z-Way's not a lesbian. Next question.
Next question.
Next question.
Okay.
I will say, just on a personal note, for me, when I was in college, a sort of running joke, I had a lot of lesbian. I still do have a healthy amount of lesbian friends, but in college, I would say I like really gravitated towards lesbians. And first of all, because they happen to be very lovely people, the specific ones that I was friends with happen to be very lovely people whose company I enjoyed. But also, I actually think, and I don't know if you can relate to this at any point in your life, there was something about it where I was like, I want to be friends with queer people, but I'm afraid, but I'm not ready to have like, I feel intimidated by gay men because I feel like I'm inexperienced. I feel like I'm newly out. I feel like I'm going to say the wrong thing. And actually, queer women were way more welcoming to me and way friendlier in a lot of these sort of like early queer spaces. So
I would say in college, I was friends with very few gay people in general.
Yeah.
It was not my gay era for sure.
Interesting.
But yeah, I feel like then after college, all the friends I've made are comedians. So at first it was straight people, and then it was like the gay guy squad that we all know and love. And then I feel like the generation below us, there's like a thriving lesbian circles. And I consider them all friends as well.
I know so many genuinely in multiple cities, like over 4 cities. If I were to go, I would stay with a lesbian couple.
Wow.
Like my friends Lily and Kara are in Boston. That's where I would stay if I were to go to Boston. My friends Emma and Miranda are in Berkeley. If I went to the Bay Area, that's probably who I would stay with. I mean, of course, now I'm going to like forget some other people and they're going to be mad at me. But I'm telling you, it's lesbian couples have the best guest rooms. And you can take that to the bank.
So do you keep all your lesbian friends' names on a list?
Yeah, the list of people I'm going to send my gorgeous year-end gifts to.
Well, thank you, River. I will, as always, listen and learn and continue to work to reach across the aisle.
Mm-hmm. Should we do this last little bit? Let's do it super quickly. We can give each of them a Kinsey rating. How about that? Okay, so River says... By the way, River still speaking in the royal we because River represents all our lesbian fans. And they say, lastly, we have a few straight topics that we think should be discussed in upcoming episodes. So I'm going to just like go through them very quickly and we can like give a little Kinsey rating. Okay, number 1, Big Mouth. To me, Big Mouth is very queer.
Yeah, but it's almost so queer that it goes back around to being straight because it's like,
also,
look how comfortable I am with queer.
Totally. There is something where it exists in this like dream world where everyone, all these literal teen boys are like okay with everyone being bisexual.
Oh, totally. It's whatever. I don't want to get into it.
Yeah. Having said that, I would like to work there now.
Yeah. Is that even still going? Whatever.
It is now. We're rebooting it.
We're rebooting it. And this time it's all 2. Straight.
Second topic, fighting in public. I will say this is straight.
I will say this is straight as well. It's gay is more like through whispers and cloak and dagger, if you will.
Totally. Fighting in public is straight. I also think a sort of, a non-abusive, let me clarify, like mother sort of grabbing the wrist of her kid, very straight. Like just like, be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
That is very straight. Okay, next one is ups and downs in relationships.
I'm going to say it's bisexual. I think everyone across the globe has it.
I agree. Next one, family group chats. Very straight, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
I am in one.
I am in one as well.
But, you can't be perfect.
Yeah.
And then trains. Queer.
100%.
Okay. Trains are actually maybe the most queer form of transportation, I would say.
It's up there.
Yeah.
It's up there.
All right, next email.
Okay, this is from Kate. I'm not trying to be cute, but after I turned 23 this year, I was hit with the passage of time / fear of aging and dying / dread. Slay. Suddenly, I can't enjoy anything without thinking about how it will end one day / picturing my own funeral, the sun exploding, etc. How do you cope with the passage of time? Love the pod.
Great
question. This is how do you deal with the passage of time? I have no idea.
It's interesting. I mean, maybe this is just being naive and like it'll all suddenly hit me at some point in like 8 years and then I will be dreading aging and dying constantly. I think right now, I almost think I'm not dreading any of that because I actually am not even mindful enough to think in a big picture way, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
I love that.
Like, it's like I'm not dreading death and I'm not dreading aging because I'm like about to miss a deadline.
You, if I can say,
I'm so in the moment. Yes, please.
You have an interesting relationship with time. Like,
thank you.
I mean that in one the shady way of like deadlines are complicated for you. You like don't see much. I feel like you're like always kind of like, oh, this is due tomorrow. Oh, fuck.
Yes.
And then another
I
thing,
don't necessarily miss them.
You don't miss them.
I will do it like last minute.
Yeah. But the other thing is that you always think of yourself as older than you are and want to see yourself as older than you are, which I find interesting and different than how I see myself. Like, I feel like I noticed you like when we were in the Hamptons, we were talking about like our ages and you like rounded up and I was like, that's interesting. And I know that your birthday is like around the corner, but so is mine. And I'm like, no,
you would never.
I always say what I am.
Yeah.
And I found it, I was like, oh, that's kind of an interesting difference.
Yeah, I think we've talked before about how you feel like you were exactly where you were meant to be when you were in your 20s. Like you were like, I was born to be in my 20s. I was born to be 26 years old. And I do think with me there was a bit of maybe a hurry to be an adult. And then also even looking back, I'm like, there's definitely a youth is wasted on the young narrative about my 20s. Not in all ways. I mean, I had fun.
I mean, you went to Coachella.
I went to Coachella multiple times, by the way. I dated. Like, it's not like I was like, oh God, I'm staying at home and I'm not going out or anything. But it wasn't. It was slightly more difficult, probably, for me to reach that state of like carefree, youthful energy.
Yeah.
Right? Although then it's like you were also, as we've said, like a good kid, where it's like you were afraid of drugs. You were like not. You didn't come out until I think later than I did. Like maybe what you liked about your 20s is that it was like it meant that that period of self-discovery was over and you like knew who you were.
That's possible. Yeah, I think I'm in the same way that like it's helpful when you move to a new city to like find the narrative of the city, like where you can be like, why does this matter? What is it like to be a Philly girl? What is it like to be like an Austin guy? And like I'm trying to figure out like what is the fantasy of like a 30-something gay guy in New York? And I'm starting to find it, but it took a second where I was like, I didn't realize I would kind of have to change my narrative. And I am, and I'm kind of having fun with it now, but it's a growing process.
I feel like when you guys I think you had a breakthrough when you decided to decorate your apartment.
Yeah. I mean, next up, wine.
Oh my God. Well, you got to take that class.
I got to take a damn class. Like this tastes like it does not bring me joy to taste wine and honey, but I want to hold the glass and I want to be like, oh, I'll have the Riesling or whatever. Or I want to be like, ugh, a Riesling.
Yeah, of course. Too sweet. Too sweet. Don't get the Riesling. Get a Gruner. So I think to be honest, at this stage, I mean, this feels like really inviting the evil eye to be like, I don't worry about death. I don't have any existential dread. But at this point in my life, I don't. I almost feel like maybe it actually makes more sense that you're having that at 23 because it does feel like the beginning of something. Whereas I firmly, like when I look at my life, I'm like, I am in the middle of something. Like I think my early sort of career is in the past, but I think my peak is hopefully in the future. You know what I mean? Like I feel like very much on a boat going sort of sailing into the ocean. But I do understand at 23 feeling like a sense of panic because it feels like a big like a beginning.
Yeah, it's a beginning. And it's a vast little sea you're looking out at, but
as you're looking out at that vast sea, it seems stressful now, but like the longer you live, the more you're going to learn how to do the sails on the sailboat, the more you're going to learn how to cook within the confines of the small kitchen in the basement of the boat. You're going to make some stops and meet people, and maybe they'll come on the boat. You are going to deal with, honestly, some rough weather, but you're going to persevere and you're going to be able to go through it and then watch a beautiful rainbow form as the sun is setting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's actually possible.
We'll see.
We'll see. You'll never know unless you keep sailing forth.
Yeah. Well, my last riff for this question is, honey, call me Richard Linklater because I'm obsessed with time passing.
All right. Next question. This is good. Okay. This is from Kaya. And she says, Happy Earnestness Bonanza Day. Thank you, Kaya. On this special day, I'd love to hear more about Sam's cooking journey. Have you learned any new recipes in the past few months? Are you any more comfortable in the kitchen? And then as for George, have you always been into cooking? Did you learn growing up or was it a skill you acquired as an adult? Okay, Sam, go first.
Okay, I have to be honest with all the listeners. I have completely fallen off. I have fallen off hard and in a bad way. I'm scared of it again. I was like doing it pretty regularly and then now I'm like, I don't know if I could do it. I am starting to have a different perspective towards cooking, which is good. Where like actually, okay, this is embarrassing, but I watched I watched Ratatouille this week for like
Oh
the
my
first
God.
time in my life, and I was like, oh my God, like Ratatouille honestly combined with like going to the Hamptons with you, George, and you like tasting, you like dipping your finger into the cocktail sauce and tasting it and being like, what does this need? And I was like, wait a minute, you can actually like taste what something could need. Like I think I've always thought of food very practically, and also like flavor as like a given, where it's like
Mhm.
it's almost like sciencey, like did you do the formula correct, and it's either like a yes or a no. And I think I'm starting to see more that it's like about taste and paying attention and listening. But that, while that may give me more fun to play with it, the general skills still stress me out, like literally chopping.
Right. I
And
mean, you also can't have fun from the start. Like you do
yeah,
have to learn, as with anything, um, you know, you have to get through the hump. I mean, this is how I feel about, not that I'm so amazing at this, but this is the first time in my life that I'm exercising regularly, and like so many times throughout my life, I have attempted it. And then in the first 3 weeks, I'm like, I can't do this. Like I feel either insecure, or I'm not good at it, or I don't want to go to the gym, or I, you know, miss one day and then I'm like, whatever, like what's the point? You really just have to get through that hump and learn a few basic things and feel a sense of accomplishment.
yeah,
The nice thing about cooking is that there is some instant gratification, because if you make something, you can eat it for dinner that night, and you're like, okay, well, I made this.
that's true. I'm always so disheartened by how long it takes.
Totally.
Um,
Well, I will also say this. We were away together for a weekend with our significant others and our other friends, John and Bennett, and Misha actually cooked a couple of things during that weekend. And I was struck not only by how obviously good he was, which I knew that he would be good at cooking, but also just how relaxed and non neurotic he was about it.
yeah,
And I sort of see why you, throughout the years, have fallen into the role of not cooking.
it's very
Because,
easy
like,
to.
it's so clear that he enjoys it and that it doesn't cause him stress. Like, Matthew and I both cook, and we probably do 50-50, but both of us are, it's common that we'll be like, "Ugh, this is gonna turn out terrible. Ugh, this is like, here it is, but careful, it doesn't have enough salt. Like, oh, here it is, but this." But like, we're both very neurotic in the kitchen, and to have a sort of calming presence like that is very nice.
Yeah, it's he also, yeah, he like wants to help, and I think I almost need to like be alone when I do it. Like I need to be
Yeah.
like just or like maybe he's like in the other room where I can ask him questions, but like I
Mhm.
kind of need to be able to make mistakes without being
Right.
seen.
Fair.
But now do you do your question.
Oh, my, as I just said, I really do enjoy cooking, and I find it rewarding and relaxing, but I am not some incredible cook. Like, I have my go-to recipes. I occasionally will try a new one. My sister and I have been attempting to make some of my grandmother's Greek recipes, because we want to sort of keep them alive. Like, there's some stuff that's fun, but I'm not someone who is, you know, opens a fridge and sees 5 ingredients and whips something up and it's perfect. I will say I did not grow up cooking. I feel like it's a very Greek thing, and I'm sure this is the case in other cultures too, that like grandmothers and mothers are sort of like, well, it's actually, let me rephrase this. My mom was not like this, but like, what I was going to say is that the Greek mother is very much like, you sit back, I'll do the cooking. My mother was actually not like that. My mom is very sort of liberated. But however, there isn't that impulse to give your children like chores, to make your kids help with like washing the dishes. Like, and it is completely, in my experience at least, it's irrelevant to like class or background or anything. It's just like, the parents are the ones who do the home stuff, and the kids have to do their homework. Like, that's how it was with my cousins. That's how it was with my friends. Like, I knew very few people in high school that were like passionate about cooking. I learned how to cook when in college I lived in a co-op, which is what we call the houses that were sort of like on the row along with the fraternity houses, but didn't have like a cook or something. So you would like cook. You would have a cooking shift where like twice a quarter it would be your turn along with someone else to cook for the entire house, and it was a house of like 35 people. So, and I lived in those houses for 3 years in a row, so I sort of like had to step it up, otherwise literally 35 people wouldn't eat. And so that was my crash course in cooking, which, by the way, cooking for a large group of people is actually a very different skill than cooking for 1 or 2 people. So then afterwards, when I finished college and moved in with roommates and stuff, I had to sort of get used to smaller portions. But that is where I like started really enjoying the process of cooking. Yeah.
Love that.
So this is from Emily, who says, formerly of shithole Utah and now of Vermont.
Ooh.
Congrats on the move, girly. So Emily says, I have 2 different questions. Okay, so first, what is your relationship towards having so much recorded material of your own voices? Do you anticipate going back and listening in later years, like rereading a diary? Do you consider the podcast just to be a piece of crafted media or something more personal, kind of functioning as an archive of your last few years? If you have gone back, what has hearing your voices, literal and metaphorical, from a few years ago felt like?
Wow.
So let's do that one first.
I don't think of it as necessarily a diary. I am really glad that we have the recordings during the pandemic, because it was just like such a weird time, and I think inherently going back and listening to them will put me back into that space, and it'll be so interesting as a document. And I went through a real journaling thing. I used to be very militant about it, and now I'm not, but I have this podcast and I'm grateful for that. I sometimes I get anxious about it, where I'm like, we talk for hours and it's like some of the humor won't hold up. Like, who fucking knows? And I'm like, we're probably like mean to somebody, or like
100%.
And so I'm like, well, I hope it just never comes up, and I kind of just feign ignorance at the fact that we have hours and hours of material.
Yeah, I mean, the nature of humor is that honestly it rarely ages well. I don't even mean that in the sense that it's like problematic. I just mean like something is funny, then everyone starts doing it, and then it becomes boring and hack, and then you move on. I mean, there are so many. It used to be truly the most fresh thing to say, I identify as something funny. Like I identify as, a homebody or whatever. Like, and now if someone says that, you're like, oh my God, are you okay? Do you need to be hospitalized for not having a good sense of humor?
Yeah. I mean, I had like a script, like at this point, like 7 years ago, where it was like, where there was like an iced, like it was like absurd on purpose, but it was like a gay guy iced coffee joke, and it's like that, like
totally,
it's just like so deeply unfunny now.
So much of I feel like I have so much material that essentially boils down to like, isn't it sinister that everything is corporatized, or that like there are ads on Instagram, and it's like that ship has sailed. But it is difficult to remember that just a few years ago, the idea of, I don't know, a sponsored post or an influencer was extremely new and very dark, and this new thing we all had to sort of grapple with.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I also think there are honestly some sort of obvious things, like the fact that I feel like we use the word gay rather than saying queer. And I'm not even saying that as like, oh, it's a politically incorrect or a politically correct thing. I think we do it as a catch-all and as a sort of almost like as a joke.
Yeah.
But who knows how language will evolve and how that will sound in a few years. Like, I don't know.
Right. Probably really smart. It'll probably sound perfect.
I literally have never listened to an old episode. The only time I ever did was when we re-released Patty's episode, because we had like a week where we re-released an old episode. And so I listened to it to sort of check if there was anything we wanted to take out, and there wasn't.
One time I re-listened to the IO episode, Whiteness, just because I was like, what was, like, I remember having so much fun on that Zoom and being like, what was that? And then I re-listened, and I mean, it's so chaotic. It's incredible. But I was both like, yeah, I was like happy with how funny it was, but also I was like, oh, we're still that funny. Like part of me also had it on this pedestal where I was like, we were never
Totally.
that funny again. And I was like, oh no, we're that funny a lot.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. I mean, that's a good example of like that episode. I mean, so much of what is unsaid in that episode is that it was recorded during the summer of 2020, and we are all attempting in a humorous way to talk around the fact that there were like racial justice protests happening around us.
Yeah.
And like, if you don't have that context, I'm sure it could sound weird or it could sound random that we decided to talk about whiteness or whatever. And I think it's the same for, I don't know, literally anything, because anything that's tied to a current event, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you that I'm glad we have so much recorded material. I'm not ready to re-listen to it anytime soon, but I'm glad it's there.
Yeah.
Oh, the second question is actually sort of fun.
Okay. Second, I'm so interested in how our speech is affected by time spent with friends. Are there any vocal tics you think you've picked up on from each other? As a listener, I can say I associate 100% with George and have noticed Sam using it a bunch as well. Overall, how much has making the pod made you aware of your own speech patterns? I definitely have picked up on many of your speech patterns, I'm sure.
And I have for you as well.
I try not to note it down because it's like it's just inevitably going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, my biggest fear is that there is something that I have done that with and you have noticed, but you don't want to tell me because it will be awkward. Like that is sometimes I do think that where I'm like, is there some thing that I have started saying or some, I don't know, turn of phrase or something
Not
that Sam has noticed and he's like, wow.
Not that I've noticed.
All right.
I mean, I feel like I've picked up I feel like you were doing like saying mama before me, like after everything. And I feel like now I say mama all the time.
I mean, I don't know. It's like, yes, I think we definitely pick up on each other's tics. And I think so far I imagine that it is 50-50 and that it's like you pick up as many of mine as I pick up of yours. You know, it's going to happen. I think like, I also sort of think it has affected our comedy maybe a little bit. Like I feel like I am potentially a little more irreverent than I used to be in stand-up, and you are a little, have a little more of like I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I'm a little more like talking about not something quote like real, like heavy real, but like a little more like discussing something that actually is like annoying. Like,
You have a joke that was, I can't remember what it is, and I don't think you do it in Club Comic, but it's like a joke where you're like, if I wanted to be smart, I would be smart. I don't, but I'm not smart, right? Like if it's like, I am smart enough to do this in a smart way, but I'm just choosing not to or something. You did that at some show at Union Hall or something. And I was like, that's a very like StraightioLab joke.
Yeah. I wonder when I did that.
All right. Next question.
Okay. This is from Jace. Greetings from Milwaukee. I have a potentially gross and potentially embarrassing question for this Earnestness Bonanza.
So funny.
Tests a theory I have. Literally, okay, scientist vibes. Literally every gay guy I know in my social circle has confessed to being a bedwetter as a kid. Obviously, gays love childhood trauma, and peeing the bed can be very traumatic. And maybe that's why piss kinks are so common in the community. Who's to say? So I am wondering if this is true of you two as well. Did either or both of you wet the bed as kids? Not chronically, sweetie. Sorry to throw you under the bus.
Me neither, I gotta say.
Very occasional.
I don't want to brag, but it happened very few times.
Yeah, I'm incredible at waking up to go pee pee. I always have been. So tell that to the press.
Yeah, tell that to the GLAAD Awards.
All right, should we move on?
Yeah. Okay, this is Shannon. Oh, okay. Every 4th of July, I'm haunted by the same dilemma. I hate patriotism, but I love a theme. What is your advice for glamour girls trying to celebrate the 4th in a country dishonoring way? Perfect question.
Beautiful question. This is so genius.
To me, I'm like, okay, you have this thing called the American flag, okay, and it's a referent, and what it's it's a signifier, and what it is signifying is patriotism, America, the 50 states, whatever. Anytime you are reappropriating that, you are taking its power away from it.
I think there is something to like, it's almost like gay country music where it's like, yes, like this is, we're like playing with it. We're making it our own and we're like having fun with it. I agree. Like I would never be like more military, but it is like, there is the aesthetic of 4th of July for some reason is so fun for like a day, and not like, I don't even like want like ironic, like, America vibes, but like I do want like a barbecue and like almost like 50s vibe or something like.
Yeah, you want to feel like you're regressing. You want to feel like you're in Mad Men and the women are all getting paid less than the men.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but it's a tough balance, I guess.
Well, you are just simply separating it from its source material. Like, it is a costume.
Yeah, it's drag.
I gotta say, like, I don't want to get too serious, but I'm like, sometimes when there are these deep conversations about the meaning of things with a problematic history, I'm like, it is actually so easy for me to be like, unless I am directly funding something that is immoral, I'm like, it is so easy for me to be like, this is a costume. It has a complicated history, but I'm like gonna do it. And let's focus on the things that are currently at the table.
Yeah, it does feel like a weird, like a very heightened sort of conceptual argument. And it's like, how about we
it's like, oh yeah, if I'm wearing camo, I'm not supporting the military. Next question. Like part of me is like, oh, well, it's complicated. It's not.
Right. Totally.
So that's how I feel about it. And also, by the way, like, I know we've talked a lot about how there are very few and non-capitalist ways to congregate. I think a barbecue is actually one of the few we have left. So appreciate that and take that away from any kind of patriotic context. Just be like, this is a way for us to congregate in a non-religious, capitalist way.
This is genius. And actually, I'm like, there needs to be more Pride barbecues, actually.
That's a good point.
I'm so tired of Pride being like $70 tickets to some fucking thing that's annoying. More Pride barbecues. I want small gatherings with friends.
Agreed. And by the way, it's like, if we celebrate Thanksgiving, then we got to celebrate the 4th. I mean, Thanksgiving is all bad. It's like literally celebrating colonialism. At least with the 4th, you're like, well, America has some good qualities. Like Katy Perry is from there.
Yeah. Like the weather's awesome sometimes.
Yeah. All right. Podcasting. All right. Next question.
This is from Steven. Oh, I need your advice. I'm hopelessly attracted to a straight who maybe gives off closeted vibes. We're not close, but he has me in his close friends on Instagram, so my broken brain believes there could be a chance. How can I tell him he can get it in any damn way, any damn time, any damn day of the week in a polite way that leaves him feeling good about the interaction, even if he's not into it? I'm not a guy who oozes flirtatious, sexy energy, so I'm worried I will come off as a creep. Thank you, love you, Steven.
Ooh.
This is a tough one.
I will say the close friends thing, in order for me to assess whether that is an important piece of information, I need to know what he posts on close friends.
Thank you.
Because straight people's close friends is like a completely different beast than gay people's close friends. Yeah. And the fact that you are in a straight person's close friends quite literally means they consider you a friend. However, if he is posting sort of sexy pics on close friends, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Along those lines, I think an easy way to maybe take a first step towards figuring this out is in fact weaponizing your own close friends, adding him to close friends and posting a suggestive photograph. And if you're not comfortable with that, a normal photograph with a suggestive caption.
I think that's really smart. And you could even do one of those things where it's like consent check. Like, do you want to see this like on close friends?
I love that.
And if clicks no, then you kind of got an answer. And even if he clicks nothing, he at least saw it as an option, and maybe he was too scared to click yes. But so yeah.
Also, I will. Okay, so you say we're not close, but he has me in his close friends on Instagram. I mean, I guess what I'm struggling with this is I need more details to sort of be able to assess. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, we're not close. What does that mean? Are you coworkers? Is he a, friend of a friend? Did you meet once?
Yeah. Also, and that also goes with like, how well do you know that he is straight? Like,
right. Totally.
Like, are you that close? Like, maybe he's bi or something.
Mm-hmm.
And you could just sort of, if you're not that close, I don't know how close you are, you could just ask him out, sort of.
I was about to say,
like a normal person, and be like, "Would you want to get a drink sometime? I think you're cute," or whatever. And then he can just say, "Oh, sorry, I don't see you that way." But
totally. Well, okay, interesting. You think he should say, "I think you're cute." I was thinking he should ask in a sort of vague way that could be perceived as either platonic or romantic. Just be like, "Want to get a drink?" And then, one of the best ways to figure out if someone is LGBTQ is getting to know them. And I think that by asking a series of questions and seeing what this person's tastes are, what this person's political opinions are, what this person's romantic history is, you can answer a lot of these questions.
Yeah, maybe a series of rapid fire questions to gauge their familiarity with
straight shooters with him. Do straight shooters with him, and then make him do a shout out. And then based on that, you can see if he is straight or not.
Yeah.
And
rate him on a scale of 1 to 1,000 doves.
Exactly.
And
by the way, guess what the worst that could happen? You get a new friend.
Yeah.
Even if he's not gay. But I gotta say, I'm sort of into this.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys hook up.
Go off legend, I say.
All right, next question. This one is from Emily. And Emily asks, what is your favorite plant and or flower?
I love this.
Same.
I have no idea what my answer is, but I do love this as a question.
I'm speaking purely in terms of visual symbolism, but the idea of a cactus is so powerful.
To me, though, like what's the like the palm fronds that you have in your house, like the palm, like the inside palm, I'm like, that to me is such luxury.
Yeah.
And implies like, I can do anything.
Well, a palm tree also, I know that's a little different, but a palm tree, I mean, that's iconic.
That's iconic.
Basically, I think, plants are disproportionately used in iconography. Can we agree on that? Like, think of all the different objects that exist in the world. So many plants are iconic. Well, palm trees are vacation.
I just don't think it's disproportionate. I think they're just too beautiful to ignore.
Totally. I mean, I think this is a very like entry level answer. It's like discovers flowers once, but the idea of a beautiful orchid is also very appealing to me.
Honestly, an orchid has never spoken to me.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. You know what?
Have you seen Adaptation?
No.
Well, you have to see Adaptation. It's all about orchids, and Meryl Streep is in it.
Okay, I'm trying to think of other iconic flowers and plants even. What's iconic, but in sort of a 90s throwback way? Sunflowers.
Oh my God, I love a sunflower. By the way, you know what my least favorite plant is in terms of iconography? The weed leaf.
Oh, yeah.
Just like the worst. It's so like
ugly.
We need to retire it. We need to find like a different thing. I mean, obviously the aesthetics of weed smoking in general are horrid and need to be retired.
We're adults. We can. It's legal
because they're created by stoned people.
You come out really hard anti-weed.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I also love just a robust tree, like a giant olive tree.
You know what I love? Also, like a field of like ferns, like where you're like, oh, I'm in I'm in a forest. Mm-hmm. I'm the thing is, I'm all in on plants these days. I'm like truly one of the best things to do is to like just go to the botanical garden and you can just, it's like better than a zoo because you're like, this doesn't feel fucking evil in the same way.
No, if anything, you're helping the plants grow
Yeah, you're giving them
rather
carbon
than
dioxide.
torturing them all day long.
Yeah.
Hello. In terms of flowers, I want to say, and these are like very basic flowers, but my grandfather had this property in Greece that I would always, because of like my schedule, I would always go to only in the summers when it was like super dry and there was there were no plants. And one time I went in the spring and it was filled with poppies and dandelions. It was like a sea of yellow and red, and it was so beautiful. And I like that image just really stuck with me of just a sea of poppies and dandelions. And I know, poppies and dandelions, I think, it's very easy to grow them. It's not, there are no orchids. However, I do have a real affection for them because they remind me of that.
I love that answer. And also vines growing up a brick wall.
I mean, it is a narrative of perseverance.
Ugh.
It is a feminist narrative. And it is a narrative of repurposing found materials.
Goddamn. Plants. I love you guys.
All right.
Sorry we don't have more complicated plants. I don't know why I keep apologizing, but
no, we don't have to apologize. I mean, I do think people can be very into plants, and so when you express an opinion, it's like, oh God, are poppies, the problematic one?
Yeah. And I think what is funny, that a funny thing that we both did is just sort of trying to think of what plants transport us somewhere.
Totally.
We really took plants as like which ones are genuinely iconic, like which ones imply a space.
By the way, fictional plant, my favorite, mother willow.
Fictional plant, my favorite, the tree in Avatar 1.
Ooh, yes, love her. And also the big plant in Little Shop of Horrors. Okay, next question. Oh, interesting.
Oh, I like this one.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I like this one.
Okay, you can read it.
Okay. This is from John. First of all, happy 1 year on iHeart. And then a little joke that's funny. How do you think fame has changed you? Not to get all performance reviewy, but do each of you feel you approach it differently in the past year? Do you feel like you have to be more particularly on knowing Alison Roman is going to be in the room? I ask because it really feels like you've been able to keep the unique energy of the pod, and I'm excited to see where y'all go from here. Pelly. A beautiful question.
Beautiful question.
And fame is generous, sweetie.
Yeah. It's funny because it's like, people who listen are like, wow, isn't it crazy that you are that you are famous? It's like, no, you just chose to press play. So you just happen to know who we are.
I get nervous when we do like an Alison Roman episode, someone big like that, and like also someone like a little less in the comedy space. And I actually think that is where our duodom comes in even stronger, because I feel in that episode in particular, I know this isn't necessarily the question, but I felt so taken care of by George over here, because you were like doing like actually talking about cooking and like sort of giving her stuff that she could riff on, and I was like, I was sort of like, sometimes I'm too improvisational. I'm sort of like, let's just see what happens. And it's like, you can't always do that. Like sometimes it's nice to like be researched and like come in with something prepared. And so I felt like that was almost like a learning experience for me, where I was like, right, like you can't always just plan on riffing. And a little homework goes a long way.
I mean, first of all, I thought you were excellent in that episode. And second of all, I thought Alison was like better at improvising than many of the comedian guests we have had.
Yeah, she really was.
I think
incredible.
She came and slayed. It was truly an incredible performance, unlike any I have seen in the podcasting arts. And if anything, it made me it made me really wish there were more people like that. Like more people that are not comedians, are in a different world, are not even, because it's, she's not even like an actor or a I don't know, a performer. It's like she is in a different world, but she also just happens to have a sense of humor that overlaps with our own. She is able to like step up and be funny and whatever. And in terms of fame, I gotta say, I very much I very much appreciate the way this is worded, and I appreciate that you think we are famous. I have not. I think like our numbers have increased since in the last year, but I don't. In no way do I feel famous, or do I feel like I am. I have anything to quote unquote handle differently. And in fact, I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, I even think it was sort of conscious to not change our sensibility, like to try to like get different guests, get different like ways of putting ourselves out there, get more opportunities, but like keep the sensibility the same. And I feel that we have been successful in that. And if anything, I think these last 2 episodes with Amy and Macy really showed that.
Oh my God.
That felt like I was back in the damn
Absolute heaven.
pandemic being insane.
Absolute heaven. Yes, I think I like that we are not actively booking people that are promoting a project all the time. But I gotta say, like, I like in my ideal world, it would be like 1 every 5 guests is like that. It is someone who is like actually going on a media tour and promoting something and is funny and like, listen, if we get Jennifer Lawrence, I'm down.
Totally. I know. I think that's a good goal, and I'm definitely not. I think in our earlier years we were more like a little more middle finger to everything, and now it's like, well, we do want to grow. We do want to like. It's like we are funny. We know that we can be funny, but it's to push it forward would be to have bigger guests and that are less like in the comedy space that we can still be funny with.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think honestly, the people I'm most nervous about would be people that like I really look up to, but I don't know if they would immediately jump in and like get the tone or something. Like I'm like, my biggest nightmare is like we get John Waters and then he like doesn't gel with us.
yeah,
Like I'm way more afraid of that than I am of like having a random person promoting a book and then having a sort of like dull conversation.
Yeah, it's tough.
Okay, so this next question is actually interesting. There are 2 emails. One was sent June 16th and it says
2022.
Oh, whoa, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, June 16th.
Wait, that's crazy. Okay, so all right, wow. Okay. This is crazily enough from someone named George, and it was sent in June 16th, 2022. George says, all right, I like the subversive strategy of the show. You know what? Hold on. I'm going to skip all the compliments, even though we greatly appreciate them. All right, so this is the question. Imagine you're producing StraightioLab. Who are the straight hosts you would choose to explore queer culture?
Did we not answer this in June 16th, 2022?
Oh. Is this where this isn't where the idea of StraightioLab came from, is it?
No, we would riff about it in the early eps.
Oh, so this is referencing something. Okay. All right. Well, the point is, George then emailed us again this Tuesday saying, just listen to the Macy episode and wow, no credit for my brilliant idea, StraightioLab. And to release the episode on the very last day we can write into the upcoming Earnestness Bonanza, no less, you will be hearing from my lawyers. Also, I was promised a Nobel Peace Prize in the mail when my previous comment was read on air. Oh.
Yeah.
You know what? Unfortunately, we are going to have to do some research to figure out what our answer to this question was last time because I do not remember. I believe that
I think I might have said, and this could be wrong. I'm just trying to think about what I would have said, and I actually think I might have said Jeremy Levick and Rajat Suresh.
Oh, who are the straight hosts you would choose to explore queer culture?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. I would add to that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I will say, as far as I remember, StraightioLab is something we first thought of ourselves.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But
if not, truly, we will literally turn ourselves into the police.
Yeah.
And I say that publicly.
Yeah. Because we believe that the police should be abolished except in cases such as this.
Except in cases of plagiarism, podcast-specific plagiarism. All right. Let's do Bruno. Do you want to?
Sure. This is from Bruno. To get straight to the point, are we gonna do all of them?
I have to say, I sort of love all of them.
We'll try to rapid fire them.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Bruno says, to get straight to the point, if Christmas has Santa, Easter has the Eastern Bunny, and Pride has Zippy the genderqueer Ziploc bag, what is the mascot of Earnestness Bonanza?
Well, okay. I want to say two things. First of all, there are 4 questions in this email, and they are all A+. Second of all, this person is based in Minneapolis, and they better come to our live show, which is one of the ones that's not selling well. All right. If Christmas has Santa, Easter has the Easter Bunny, and Pride has Zippy the genderqueer Ziploc bag, what is the mascot of Earnestness Bonanza? I think the mascot of Earnestness Bonanza is like Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah, 100%. I was going to say Mr. Rogers.
Great. Okay, second question. Thoughts on nihilism as a viable life philosophy? This one's tough.
I say you can't. I say you can have moments of it, but come on.
Yeah.
It's the easy way out, I will say.
I think that I would say one of the biggest arcs for me personally from my 20s to my 30s is slowly and surely rejecting nihilism. I feel like I was very prone to it in my 20s.
Yeah.
And I think that you just, what a waste, basically.
And what a waste. Okay. Background. I finally got my PhD after 10 years of higher education, only to realize it will be years until I have a real faculty job and can have the lifestyle I envision for myself. It seems like comedy and other creative fields have a similar shit to more shit to maybe get their journey. How do you keep yourselves from giving up? When should I give up on academia and open a plant shop / bakery? Wow. Genius question.
God, I would love to actually inhabit a world where it was easy to open a plant shop / bakery and have that be stable.
Totally.
Because where we live, those close every day. And all of those people then are in debt. And also not just that, there's suddenly like a Grub Street article about them about how they're toxic girl bosses.
Well, you also need...
it's like, well, they were running a bakery.
Yeah, you need like $100,000 in order to even step foot in a space that you could open a bakery.
Yeah.
But
I like this question of like the period that is, you can roughly say is the period where you're paying your dues, so to speak, is always longer than you want it to be.
Mm-hmm. And that's true. It does seem like, and maybe this isn't true, but you'd have to like look at the progress you've made, because there's always this like, at least I have this like fantasy in entertainment where it's like one day I won't have to think about anything. Like one day everything will be moving smoothly and I will just be coasting and like doing what I do. And it's like, actually that will never come. It's more about like being comfortable with the discomfort and sort of the constant pushing yourself and finding new things and exploring new options, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe yours is different. Maybe one day you will just have it all figured out.
I mean, academia is tough. I think, God, the idea that I'm even giving advice is laughable. But the only advice I can give is to sort of, and this is a trigger warning, this is neoliberal advice. I'll say
treat yourself.
No, what I was going to say is sort of like, keep an open mind about different ways a career can look like. I think that's the best outlook when you are in an industry that's defined by scarcity. Because if you are so laser focused on getting those 2 jobs that exist every year, you're going to drive yourself crazy. Like maybe it is, you have a PhD after 10 years of higher ed. Maybe it is sort of doing other forms of writing for different audiences. Maybe it is seeing where there are applications of your field in non-academic environments. I'm not sure, and I obviously do not know your field, but I think keeping an open mind about what a career can look like, I think is generally a good thing rather than being closed-minded.
Smart. And I think it's epidemiology according to the email signature.
Oh, well, honey, we need help there.
Yeah.
Okay, final question is a straight shooter. We actually got a lot of straight shooters this time, and I'm afraid we do not have time to do all of them, but we did laugh at every single one of them, and we are doing this one just because it happens to be in an email with other questions we are doing. Sam, a stepmother who is corny or a stepfather who is porny?
Stepfather who's porny.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of a no-brainer. No offense to the stepmother. All right, and this is our final question. Okay, Juan has 2 questions. Okay, this first one I absolutely love. Juan says, as a Canadian glamour girl, I need your expert opinions. Is the extra you we put in words like color, labor, humor, gay or straight? On one hand, it feels like people think of Canada as the United States' gay cousin. On the other hand, that's technically the British spelling, and I'm pretty sure anything British is straight. Nobody is talking about this, and we need answers. This is like, I mean, talk about understanding the assignment. Asking us whether the extra you that Canadian and British people use is gay or straight is like exactly the kind of questions we would like in the Earnestness Bonanza.
I think it's gay. And I also think I'm shocked that someone would say anything British is straight. To me, British is like America's gay brother. I feel like America's the cowboy and Britain is the little fancy twink.
So I think you're looking at it in a very American-centric way. I think it's like, from an American point of view, Britain is gay, but objectively speaking, Britain is straight. Does that make sense?
Sure.
It's like for Americans, they see it and they're like, oh, who are these fancy,
tea
gay
drinking,
boys drinking tea?
Yeah.
But then the rest of the world, it's like, why are they committing violence?
Yeah, totally. No, that makes sense.
But having said that, I still think the U is gay. I mean, anything that is ornamental.
Yeah, it's flourish.
Gay. It's a flourish. I love when it's like you have Canadian friends and you sort of don't think about it because they are American passing, and then they send an email and it has the extra you, and you're like, you little bitch. You are different. Leave,
please. Okay. Question number 2 is, in order to combat my burnout, assist in my general search for joy in this capitalist world, and just for shits and giggles, I signed up for an improv class this summer. Y'all have been making me hoot and holler all year long as I've been catching up on the pod from the beginning. So I want to know if you had any advice or words of wisdom or warning for me as I begin this adventure.
Ooh, Sam, this is your scene.
Well, improv is an incredible skill to have, but is not this sounds like
useful in any
I'm being a parent now.
Part of your life.
Yeah. I'm like, it is not a job. And whatever that little theater you're taking classes at is telling you to get you signed up for more classes, you don't believe them. Do not let them walk all over you. No. So I read this question actually, and I was reminded, and I've talked about this before on the pod, but I'll recap briefly. When I went to see The View, and you're allowed to ask them questions while they're like setting up for the next segment, and an audience member asked Raven Simone, what advice would you give someone trying to get into Hollywood? And her advice was, don't.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry to say, she's right.
She's right. I remember signing up for like literally first improv class when I was, 19 in Chicago, and like the teacher was so bitter and was like, first of all, don't get into this class to make money. Okay. You're not going to make money. Second of all, and it was just like, okay, like, sure, I know what you're saying, but like, don't, like, it's a 101. You also don't need to start out that way. Like, I think the advice, the words of wisdom to Juan are just like, have fun, and I hope you like it. Like,
totally. I mean, I remember, I never took improv as an adult, but when I still lived in New Jersey, there was like an improv class when I was in middle school, and it was genuinely like the level of pure joy I felt when I was in that class. And it was like in the, it was just normal class. It was in the middle of the school day. So it's like you would go from math to improv. And I was like ecstatic. Like I was like shaking because of how much fun I was having. And I distinctly remember one time, like, in my mind, I was like, wow, I wish we could do this all day long. And then I distinctly remember one time some girl who was sort of like too cool for school being like, how much longer do we have to do this? Or like, oh God, do we have to do this last game? And it was the first time I had considered that someone could not enjoy this. I was like, I'm sorry, you are being given the gift of unadulterated joy and you are acting bored with it.
That is rough.
So my point is, I think improv would be incredibly fun if you just don't go into it wanting to get something out of it, or you just go into it like with the intention to have fun, to meet people, and to, I don't know, like literally spend an hour not on your phone. Hello?
Truly. I mean, and back to the beginning, so many adults lose their sense of play.
It is an epidemic. That's the real epidemic, is that no one has a sense of play.
I mean, we should talk about it.
And I'm actually not even kidding. Like that is, I understand that the commodification of everything and like social media and all that stuff, all of those things are toxic for other reasons. But one of the side effects is no sense of play.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's on Earnestness Bonanza if we're not sincerely saying that we believe in the idea of play.
100%. I'm trying to think if we have any closing statements.
I want to close by saying that I am pro hot dog, I am pro hamburger, I am pro sparkler, I am anti firework.
What? Oh, is this? Are you going back to the patriotism question?
I'm just going.
Oh, it's 4th of July.
It's 4th of July.
Oh my God, I forgot that it's 4th of July. Okay, yes, I'm against fireworks too.
They drive me insane. Too loud. And like, for what?
A classic gay in theory, straight in practice.
Yes.
Because, you would think like, oh, this is like flashing lights and it's colorful and it's rainbow. But in fact, it's like actually war coded.
It's a fucking bomb. And it's like,
it's a bomb.
Really uncomfortable to be around.
And it kills people.
People die from fireworks all the time. At least lose a fucking hand.
No, it's true. Dogs are scared of it.
Dogs are scared. Teens like to shoot them at each other sometimes. And it's like, I've never related. That made me feel like when I was a teenager, I wasn't actually a teenager. The way that I did not crave violence was like, made me feel
that's
very
actually
othered.
A really good point. Yeah. No, that's a really good point. Like the idea of a food fight.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm trying to eat actually.
Thank you. Thanks.
Pass the pepper. Jesus. I agree with that. I think that, what are those things, which I've actually never used in my life? They're little sticks that you can like write your name with, and then you take a photo and you like have written your name in a little sparkly thing. Sparklers. That I like.
That is exactly what I'm saying.
That's safe.
We are on the same page.
It's family friendly. And by the way, photographs much better if you care about art. Sharing and having your posts liked by friends. Do you know what doesn't photograph well? Fireworks.
Mm-hmm. And I'm so danger free. I don't even want the sparklers that are kind of like short. Like, give me the long sparkler where I know my hand will not touch a spark at all.
Yeah. I agree with you that I'm pro bonfire.
Pro bonfire, yeah.
I mean, I'm pro just like Christmas lights outside.
I'm pro summer, and we all know that. And to me, 4th of July is a celebration of summer.
Pasta salad.
Yum.
A small way that you can queer 4th of July is bringing a pasta salad.
I'm going to make a pasta salad. That will be my way back into cooking, is through pasta salad.
Wait, you should do one of the Alison Roman ones. She has a new one every summer, and it's sort of become like a thing.
Oh my God. Okay, great. I'm going to do that. That sounds fun.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'll see you out there.
Wow.
Are we going to the same barbecue, or are you going to Jake's?
No, I'm going to be in Vermont.
Damn it.
Yar.
All right. Well, have fun eating pasta salad in Vermont, bitch.
Okay, tell Jake I say hello, bitch.
Yeah, and thank you for 3 incredible years.
And here's to 3 incredible more, and much love to you all.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see you soon.
Happy 4th.
Bye.
Bye.